Hey there, this is Science for Friday the 27th, and today you are doing your Finding Screws Around the House sheet. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about the screw as a simple machine. You're going to try something new today on IXL. There is a science section, so you sign on to IXL like normal, you go to science up top instead of math, and then you're going to do exercise G1 on push and pull. It's set up a little bit differently. It's only 5 questions at a time, but they have it in like challenges. So this is the first time you'll be doing this. I'm not sure how it's going to go for you, so I want you to try it, but I don't want you to do it for more than 10 minutes. So let's say you get through it all in less than 10 minutes and you do all the challenges, great. Let's say you have worked through 2 challenges and you can see on the little timer that 10 minutes has gone by. You stop there, you put it away, okay? So as much as you can get done in that 10 minutes is fine, because I tried it myself, and if you get 5 in a row correct, they move you on. If you miss one, it's nice because they give you an explanation why it's not correct, but it takes longer. So my point is not for you to finish the whole thing. My point is for you to work on it for about 10 minutes. Does that make sense? Okay? The other thing I wanted to mention today is that after I read to you about screws, on my science playlist, we're going to learn a little bit about how ancient screws were used, and there's 3 little videos on the Gardens of Babylon, because they were, as far as we know, the earliest use of the screw, and it's just a really interesting little sidebar about how engineers used screws back then. So if you get done all of your work and you have time to check those out, they're on the science playlist, okay? All right, so let's talk about screws a little bit. A screw is an inclined plane wrapped around a core, meaning a center piece. This inclined plane is called a thread. Turning a screw causes one of 2 things to happen. A screw can pull 2 things together. This is what happens when you screw the cap onto a water bottle. A screw can also push one thing into another. This is what happens when the top board of a flower press flattens a bloom. So I don't know if you've ever had the chance to use a flower press. They're really neat. We actually have one. And what it does is, if you can see this right here, this is the screw, and it just pushes pressure down and pushes the flower flat, and then over time it dries that way, and then you can use it for crafts or cards or things like that. You can use press in a different way, like an apple press. I don't know if you've ever seen an old-fashioned apple press. Same thing, where the screw tightens the lid and press harder and harder on the apples, and then they make the cider. Okay? The screw was invented later than some other simpler machines. A large device called a screw pump was the first known example. It might have been used in the 600 BCE to take water to the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. These gardens were one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The screw pump's thread was a giant blade turning the screw, and it lifted water to a higher place. So if you go and you watch those videos on YouTube in the science playlist, you will see a virtual tour of the gardens and what they might have looked at like, and you will wonder, how did they get the water all the way up this ancient building? Well, it was a design like this. See, these planks here make the screw threads, and the water, they would put it in the water, and then they would turn it, and it would carry the water up to the next level. And then they'd put another one here, and it would carry the water up to the next level. And it was like platforms of a garden. It's really cool. You should check it out if you can. Okay, so after the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the Greek scientist and inventor Archimedes also made a screw pump in the 200s BC. It became known as the Archimedes screw. These early screws pushed or carried one thing to another. Holding things together, like we use mostly a screw for today, wasn't a common use until like the 1700s. So some examples that you might find around your house, well, screws, the hardware. You probably have some of those in your home. We all use them to hang things in our home. Or if you look at door hinges, they're usually held in with screws. I can't think of another example right now, but they're all over, so take a close look. Another example you might have in your home is a ceiling fan, something that we might not think of as a screw, but if you look closely at your ceiling fan, the blades of the fan are on a slant, like a screw. And when they turn, they move the air better because they create a spiral of air. We talked at school about spiral staircases being a type of screw. Probably most of you don't have a spiral staircase at your house, but if you do, you can count it. How about, oh, there's the apple press I was telling you about. There's a screw, and as you turn it, there's a lid that gets pushed down and squishes the apples. Any container with screw threads, mason jars, water bottles, any jar in your refrigerator that has threads, that counts. So you will have plenty for your list if you just look around your kitchen. A lot of office chairs. If your parents have office chairs, just watch your fingers if you're going to take a look underneath. There's moving parts, so don't stick your fingers in little holes and things, but you might see threads around part of the chair underneath for the mechanism to move it up and down. Just be careful of your fingers. And that's probably enough for you to go and find enough for your list. So for today, do your list, put it back in your folder. Watch the YouTube videos in the playlist if you can on the Gardens of Babylon, because they're a really cool example of how ancient screws were used. And then you're going to try the IXL Science. Remember, 10 minutes. 10 minutes, see what you can do. It's on push and pull and figuring out if the action they're giving you is a push or a pull. Okay, have a great weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday.